Delighted to be joined by Uday Kotak. Uday Kotak is joining me live right now. Ketan Kumar Zota is joining us from Surat. Mr. Uday Kotak, good afternoon. This is Arnab here. Good to have you on Budget Day. Mr. Uday Kotak, what is the big message in your view which this budget has sent? How do you view it? Does this open up opportunities? Is this a game changer? Can I have your detailed perspective on this, Mr. Kotak?
Sure, Arnab. I look at this budget as a budget for growth and next generation of reforms. A budget which is reflective of a self-confident India. We are making a big thrust in three important areas: healthcare, infrastructure, and the financial sector. We are taking steps to clean up the financial sector through the process of an ARC followed by alternate investment funds. We are setting up a big infrastructure development financial institution, and we are keeping a stable tax regime. We are communicating that we will not increase taxes. We will want higher tax collection through growth. At the same time, we are working aggressively through this budget on monetization and disinvestment.
Yes.
Can you hear me, Arnab?
Yes. Mr. Kotak, no, I had a little audio problem for a while there. But I did get you completely. You have said that you are enthused with the plan of aggressive investment, monetization, focus on FDI, roadmap for cleaned up stressed assets, stable tax regime, among others.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Kotak, let me take you one by one. In terms of the banking sector, of which you are India's #1 leader, the biggest move that has been announced is the cleanup of the books of public sector banks. Is this enough? One, B, the capitalization being 20,000 crores. Is that in your view enough? Because the government, how will this materialize? The government in 2019 was unable to implement its proposal to make a 70,000 crore capital infusion into the PSBs. So I first want your response on the capitalization of public sector banks, Mr. Kotak.
See, Arnab, as you know, there is two ways to capitalize. One is to put it on the liability side of the balance sheet through new capital. Second is on the asset side. If you clean up the dead assets by moving them to an ARC, you're freeing up liquidity and capital. So the main focus of the budget is to clean up the asset side by moving the stress assets into an ARC, and thereafter in a transparent manner selling it out to various alternate funds which can raise money from the global markets. So we are cleaning up the asset side of the balance sheet, which frees up the capital and space for banks to be lending aggressively as we grow. Simultaneously, we are creating capacity through a new infrastructure development financial institution. This is a very important institution like NABARD and SIDBI. So creating this is another big positive as I look at it. And there is a big incentive for real estate investment trusts and infrastructure investment trusts. This will enable infrastructure companies to raise capital through these structures as well.
Mr. Kotak, the DFI. Now, the government's looking, and numbers set was we want to have 5 lakh crores available for us for the DFI within a period of 3 years. How can this happen in your view? And how will this contribute towards the overall focus on infrastructure?
See, DFI, their government has announced starting with a 20,000 crores capital. I'm sure over time they will be looking at getting large institutional capital alongside the government. And as you know, a DFI can take debt on its balance sheet, which could be as high as 6 or 7 times the capital. So as you do that, you start taking debt, and there are mechanisms through which between RBI and the government, you can start creating long-term debt on the balance sheet of the DFI. So DFI's capital plus debt, which is 6 to 7 times capital at least. You then have the money which you start lending. And that is fixed rate lending. One of the biggest challenges for infrastructure projects is banks today have shorter term money. You need longer term money for infrastructure project financing. And an infrastructure development financial institution can achieve and bridge that gap.
Mr. Kotak, I'll bring in Deepti Sachdeva, my co-anchor, to the next question. But I have one question before I bring Deepti in. And PK Basu, we all know that, Uday Kotak is one of India's greatest corporate, industry visionaries. So we all like to ask some few pertinent questions to you on a macro level. PK Basu, by the way, Mr. Kotak is one of India's most preeminent economic historians. He's a professor at Singapore. But before I let them in, I'll be a little greedy. Mr. Kotak, as a journalist, I like to read signals. And I was astounded when Nirmala Sitharaman announced that on insurance will go up from 49 to 74. And she said it so effortlessly and without any sense of drama, that I could see people around, their jaws dropped. Oh, it happened. It happened so quickly. And at the same time, great belief in Indian management. And Mr. Kotak PK is one of the great believers in Indian management, Indian companies, Indian entrepreneurs. He's a mentor to many. So I want your comments on that observation and the way it was crafted, where the finance minister spoke about having the necessary safeguards in terms of the key management personnel and the board members, etc. I'd like to know how you broadly thought of it, Mr. Kotak.
Arnab, I think about this as a very clear signal of a self-confident India. There used to be a time when many of us would say that, listen, we need to ensure that, the large foreign institutions will come and swamp Indian companies. I think time has come where I genuinely believe financial sector players in India have the confidence to be on the same level playing field as any of the global majors. And we are confident that this will lead to more competitive situation. It will bring in more capital and, more importantly, a self-confident India which is ready to deal with global and domestic money on terms which give us a sense of a future India which is not scared of anything.